Everybody. This is Sheets, and hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Pretty odd day today because I did have a half day. The market closes early today, so I did have a little bit of time to bring you some midday content. And the schedule for today's sports is very unique. We have all kinds of stuff, actually. We have, well, first of all, we have the normal stuff. Like we have the NBA at 7:30. Not even normal because it's 7:30 instead of 7. But we have NBA at 7 o'clock. We have NBA at 7:30. NHL at 7:30. Not 7. So we're going to do that later on. But we're going to do the early look and early lineup build today, like right now. Then we have Friday NFL Showdown, which is, of course, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which we have never seen before. And then there are all kinds of early slates that we can deal with. I'm playing all kinds of crazy stuff today. So I'm just going to go through everything as much as I can. But I guess we'll start with the early NBA look. But just so you know, I'm playing the 1 p.m. NHL early slate as well. So I'm going to go through that probably, after like a half an hour or so. And then we're also going to do the NFL Showdown. And maybe I'll come back at 2 o'clock and we'll do that because we're still waiting on some pretty important news from that game. That being Durham Smythe and, some other actives which might come in here. So this is going to be pretty off the cuff. We're going to start with the NBA, though, and we'll do what we usually do. I'm going solo today, just in case you didn't figure that out by now. And you can tell because it's completely disorganized. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start sharing my screen, and then we are just going to get after it. Don't be intimidated. The first I'm sharing with you is the early slate NHL. We are not going to do that right now, even though it's the first thing to lock. But what I want to share first is the NBA, the main slate. And I am going to play the early slate too, that 2-game slate, because I'm starting to really get a kick out of playing these short slates, whether it be showdowns or 2-gamers, to try to really try to get unique lineups. And I'm just becoming kind of into that. But this is the regular NBA slate, and we're looking at it from a overall slate perspective. We're not looking at this game by game, but I can do that game by game as well. Let's pull up the SaberSim order so we can go through, I guess, game by game if we wanted to. But you have Miami, New York, pretty short total, whatever. You have Chicago, Toronto, looks pretty grim. Then you have the 246 total out of the Milwaukee-Washington game, which you'd imagine has some blowout risk. But then you have another small total, Denver-Houston, 214. And then you have what looks like a pretty good one, this Minnesota-Sacramento game at 230, which is odd because Minnesota usually plays low-scoring games now. And then you have the Harlem Globetrotters, otherwise known as the Indiana Pacers, playing with a 240 total, which is probably something you want to think about. And then you have Golden State, San Antonio, pretty decent total, 233, and then the New Orleans, LAC at the end. Another thing I'm doing, by the way, today, just so you know, I am playing the Showdown slate, the LAC New Orleans. I don't know if and when I can put content up for that, but just so you know, I am playing it just to get used to playing NBA Showdown a little bit more. And who knows, maybe I'll pop in live and see what's going on with that later. Who knows? We'll see. But first, let's pull up the slate from just an overall kind of sheet perspective, projection perspective, and let's just sort at the beginning by points per dollar, just to get a sense of what's going on here with this slate. And the first thing you'll notice right off the bat is you have this big-time value at the top of the list being Trey Lyles. And the other thing you'll notice, this is what I notice, is that you'll have Giannis, despite him being 11-1, being one of the top point per dollar plays on the slate. Now, when you have that dynamic, meaning a high salaried, just overall high projection player also having a good point per dollar projection, and you have just a stone minimum, pretty much good value play, it is really destined to be some kind of stars and scrubs slate with Giannis Lyles pairings just kind of dominating the proceedings. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you have to play this way. Okay. That means that's going to be the most obvious way to play. I mean, you could probably pivot off of that by playing lineups without these guys, but this is going to be the easiest way to play. The other thing that you'll notice is that Buddy Hield at 5,500 is rating as a really good point per dollar play as well. So these three guys look really, really good. Now let's go through the overall way I look at these things. When you look again at point per dollar rankings, what you're looking for to see what good plays are. I'm saying this like good plays. I like when people put quotation marks as if someone's saying it, otherwise known as good plays. Is you want high-priced players that have good point per dollar rankings. Okay, because as you can see, the top guys are almost always going to be cheapos when you're dealing with point per dollar plays. So that's why Giannis is such a great play here. But the two guys that are kind of popping here, actually several, are Cade Cunningham, looking extremely strong. Chris Paul, Middleton to a lesser degree, but Rudy Gobert, and these guys that we played before, Siakam, Towns, Sengun, and Edwards. So this is kind of this whole group up here is really your key players. Okay. All of these guys look really, really good. And not all of them are extremely high owned. The reason for that is when you go through some of these other plays down here that are getting ownership, they are pretty good plays. Like you see Jaden Ivey down here. Pretty good, pretty good point per dollar play, 20% owned. Mikhail Alexander-Walker, 4,400. We've been playing him, 20% owned. So that's why these guys, even though they're really, really good plays, they're not exactly going to be, at least now, extraordinarily high owned. So you can do some stuff today, okay, with just regular type plays, and you can get away with doing it either with, say, the Giannis Trey Lyles pairing and then filling stuff in, or just eschewing both of these guys and making pretty cool middling builds. So depending on which way you want to play, and listen, I hate to say that there's no answer, but there really isn't. All right, you can make the case on this particular slate with either approach if you're going to build like a hand-built lineup. So either start with, say, Giannis Lyles and then fill it in, or throw them both out and just play these middling guys, and you're going to get I think you're going to get a really, really good hand-built lineup type of slate. Okay. For example, you want to just see what that looks like. Let's do it. I'll show you. I haven't really done this yet, but it's probably going to be an easy build. Now, again, it is kind of process over anything else because, as you guys well know, as soon as I upload any video, somebody gets ruled out. So maybe I should just not upload anything and realize that we'll have good plays this way. So if we wanted to build with just these guys, let's first do the Giannis Lyles one. If you do that, you'll still have 5,800 a man or something, like 5,900 a man. So you could just put stuff in. You could play either Cade Cunningham or Chris Paul or both, and then you could play either Chris Middleton, Buddy Hield, or both. It becomes really easy. I hesitate to actually do this, but let's just, why not? Let's just put it in here. So let's put in Cade Cunningham here, and let's just put in Chris Paul here just to see what it looks like. At 7,200, maybe that won't be as easy. And then you can put, say, Buddy Hield in here. So I shouldn't say it's trivial, but play stuff like Chris Middleton, and then you could fill out the rest with some good point per dollar plays like Kyle Anderson or whatever it is. So if you wanted to play Giannis and Lyles, you can do it and still make really really good plays elsewhere. But for me, like the coolest way to play is just to throw them both out because Lyles is going to be really popular, I imagine. And let's just see if you can build it without either of them. So instead of playing the Lyles Giannis pairing, which certainly makes sense, how about like one filled with some of these mid-range dudes? Guys like Edwards and Sengun, stuff like that. And we're still going to play Cade Cunningham, but to see what something like that would look like. And then after this, we're going to run a SaberSim build and see how that pairs. So let's put in. I want a high upside guy. How about I put in Anthony Edwards in this type of thing? And instead of playing, say, Trey Lyles, we'll go a completely different route and play for like 8,200 for Sengun. And then you could still go play Buddy Hield over here. And then you're just sort of in this range. And then we could play instead of Giannis, we could play Middleton at forward. And then you play your Kyle Andersons or whatever. Or you could still play Trey Lyles. Like if you did that, you could still play Trey Lyles and then really make your life easy. And then you have 5,400 a man. You can go back to the sheet and find something good, whatever. It's not so very difficult. So the constants in these whole deals are like Cade Cunningham, I think. And it's going to make a lot of sense. I think it's going to be really popular. He's in an incredible, Harlem Globetrotter type matchup where his sort of lack of shooting efficiency is not going to really be tested too much. I think he'll get layups. I think he'll fall into some steals and stuff as well. So I kind of like this. Now, Edwards also becomes an interesting play because Trey Lyles is in the same game. So you could rely on that. So from a hand building perspective, I do think that this slate is pretty doable without too much stress. Okay. Let's take the SaberSim route and let's see what we can do over here. I already pre-uploaded the projections, but I'm gonna do it again just to show you the process. And we're going to look at it both from a Saber score ranking perspective, and then we're going to look at it from a contest sim perspective. So again, we uploaded everything. We replaced SaberSim projections with our own, which are pretty close. And let's just build the lineups here. And I already put in I never put in the contest sim settings. Well, the good thing is my entries are in the contest tab, so I'll be able to do it here once this stops, I guess. Now there are questionables. If Bam doesn't play, stuff can open up. But again, we're just trying to go with what we have now. And then we'll do the same thing with FanDuel, guys. And I already looked, and it looks as though FanDuel is very similar to DraftKings today. But okay, so as you'll see, these are the same guys I mentioned before, pretty much. Chris Paul, Buddy Hield, Chris Middleton, Trey Lyles, Giannis, right? And this is when you rank them by Saber score. See that Saber score, large slate. Okay. And then you could go and see where the exposures are, like let's see, exposures here, 100% Trey Lyles, and pretty much everybody I mentioned. So there's nobody really new that pops up here. Like you get more Rudy Gobert, that makes sense, I suppose. Klay Thompson, that's fine. Naz Reid from that same game, right? Kyle Anderson from that same game, Jaden Anderson, Ivy from the same game, Nikhil Anzaro from that same game. So this whole game is very, very stackable. But let's go back into contests and let's put our contest sims in for both the fadeaway and for the alley-oop, because that's what I'm playing. And let's run. This is probably not the most important thing, but one of the more important things about using these contest sims is seeing the differences between the builds. So, like, for example, we already know what we're getting here when we just run them with Saber Score, like the same guys that really was showing up in our projections. But when we run it using the contest sims, it's interesting to see if there's a lot of differences, because again, what the contest sims are trying to do is take into account what they think everybody's going to play, and then specifically build lineups tailored to those contests, to that contest. So you would think that you'd be getting leverage sort of against like your own plays in a way. And so what I found, at least again from the brief amount of time I've been using the contest sims, is that it's a great deal of confidence in a way, either way. In other words, if the contest sims runs give you very similar type builds to what you were getting anyway, it makes you feel kind of good about it. But then sometimes when don't feel as confident in your regular builds, and the contest sims get you completely different, that makes you feel good too. It really just does depend. Okay, so let's see what this looks like when we rate the fadeaway by risk-adjusted ROI. You're getting very similar type of things with a couple of exceptions. So you're getting a lot more OG Anunoby and DeRozan. So that is sort of interesting. So it's finding leverage in that Chicago-Toronto game. So if you wanted to play something contrarian, this is a good way to play. I mean, you stack a little bit more of the Chicago-Toronto game, which is not the greatest total in the world, but because it's such low ownership, it's going to reward you for that. And then let's see what the difference is between the fadeaway and, let's say, the alley-oop, which is the higher stakes buy-in. In this construct, they're giving you kind of a three-man from Minnesota, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Nasri, and Gobert, getting even further away from those optimal-ish lineups that we created on our own. So that's sort of interesting. So this is another thing you can do. So play like three guys from Minnesota and you can play them all together. That's fine. You can run it back with Trey Lyles if you want. But this one does. Oh, this one does have Trey Lyles, and that certainly makes sense. And if you want, you could add in another Sacramento guy that doesn't project all that well. Projects well, but not great point per dollar play, like De'Aaron Fox or something like that, and really beef up that stack. And that certainly makes a lot of sense. I already pre-saved these in the in my lineups, but just to show you how to do it. Let's hit save the contests, and it automatically saved it because I'd already preloaded my my DraftKings stuff in there. And we will also save this one. Well, we should save it to the alley-oop as well, right? The alley-oop we're going to save to the alley-oop. Sorry about that. Alley-oop will save to the alley-oop. We did that. And then, again, it's important to save the right things in the right contest. Fadeaway. We'll save that to fadeaway. And again, that's just for now. If it's for 5 minutes away from lock, we would wouldn't have to worry about it until the first late swap. So let's just go in here, show you guys again how to do this. Edit entries, upload, and downloads, and up we go. All right, let's do FanDuel now. And we'll do pretty much exactly the same thing as soon as I check this horse racing business. Okay. Let's pull up FanDuel. I can't forget to do my NBA, my NHL builds. I'll do that next, actually. NBA, hold on. NBA, FanDuel, pull this up. I think I'm also going to play Yahoo today. I just kind of feel like playing everything. So what does FanDuel look like that's any different? That's a good question. Let's again, same thing. Let's sort by point per dollar first. And yeah, you're getting some good stuff here. You know, and where in DraftKings you're looking for 6x or higher. FanDuel, if you can get 5x or higher, it's really not bad. Because the prices are usually higher. So here are a couple of differences. Buddy Hield still looks like a great play, but you're also getting more Bruce Brown and the aforementioned Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Klay Thompson. So again, I like when this happens because Klay Thompson is not perceived to be a FanDuel type of player, right? Because the 3-point shooting is more rewarded on DraftKings. But don't forget, these are all factored into the projections already. So if you see Klay Thompson as a good FanDuel play, you're probably going to get extra lower ownership on him, So I wouldn't mind that. Chris Middleton, a little more of that over here as far as rankings go. And still, Cade Cunningham looks really strong. Miles Turner looks really strong. When we sort by value score over here, again, we're looking for lower price guys. And once again, Cade Cunningham, Pascal Siakam, Sengun, these same mid-range guys that we've kind of been playing. So to kind of show you on FanDuel what that would look like, let's pull that up. So let's pull FanDuel NBA. By the way, F Survivor had like incredible leverage over the whole field with the Lions, and they lost. Can I tell you? That is the way it goes. All right, NBA. Who needs 800,000 first anyway? Sigh. All right, so let's see what a build like that would look like. It doesn't make Giannis as much of a priority over here, so that's sort of interesting. But let's just start with a middling type of build, I guess. So we'll start with these guys like Cade Cunningham, Siakam. Play Zion over here. That would be interesting. But Sengun. So let's just see what all this would look like. Sengun, put him at center. And then once again, Cade Cunningham. Put him at point guard for now. And then who's the guy I mentioned? Siakam. $5,900 per man should be pretty easy. But, another guy's showing up over here. So this is always really appealing to me when I see stuff like this. Like 8,700, he's a very similar type play to all these guys. And he's only 5% owned. So let's go ahead and do that. That's something that I would do based on my sheets is just eyeballing the low-owned guy that's rated sort of the same. And I'd put him in, and then the rest I'd fill in by point per dollar play. So that would be something like, that would be pretty convenient if it all worked out. But Hield, Brown, Walker, Thompson, let's put all those guys in. Brown we'll put in over here. Bruce Brown put it here. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, put him over here. We can actually play somebody good. Another small forward, Middleton, right? Put him over here. And then we need another small forward, another point guard. I mean, we could. Ooh, you know who we could play? We could play the once $12,000 James Harden. And there's got to be somebody cheap we could play at 4,600. Well, play Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles would be one way to go. Jaden Ivey, we can almost play him. Boy, I would love to get away with playing James Harden somehow. We could play. No, we can't quite play Klay Thompson in this build. I would try to make this work somehow. So I would maybe play Mm. All right, I'm not sure what I would do, but this is. I would like to actually somehow get to James Harden in this build. Maybe not play Wembanyama. I really want to play that though. But you could always be a little bit like whatever, and you don't want to play him. You play somebody worse like Gordon, and then it becomes sort of easy, I suppose. Um, anyway, so FanDuel's looking pretty similar. You don't really need to play Giannis though on FanDuel. That's the real difference. But let's see what Saberson comes up with over here. What's the deal? Is Michael Porter Jr. out? Is that what's dealing this? FanDuel. Oh, taking the Packers in Circa. Yeah, I mean, if I were in Circa, I don't know. I mean, you're getting incredible leverage there. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. But I mean, I haven't been in Circa in like weeks and weeks. I think it would have been better to just our path in Circa was actually having San Francisco. So we'll see. I don't even want to think about what would have happened there. Anyway, let's do FanDuel. We already uploaded them again, but I'm going to do this once more just to show you guys how to do this. NBA, and again, I'm doing it for my own file. If you have it on a Saberson package, this happens automatically. So let's build 50 lineups from FanDuel, and let's see if we get something similar to what I was just building. I think that's it. That's cool. And then we're going to build in order. Then we're going to build the hockey lineup. We're going to build the hockey lineup, and then we're going to build the NBA, I think 2 p.m.er, maybe. Or maybe we'll wait till 2 p.m. for that. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back at 2 p.m. because then I could focus on that Showdown slate. And I'm also going to do that NBA 2:30 slate. I think that's when it starts at 2:30. But let's take a look what FanDuel puts out. Okay, this is a little different. More Halliburton over here. Kuzma. No, but you are getting Clay, Conley. All right, so Conley is the main difference. Where you're getting what you're doing with FanDuel. So again, this is rated by SaberScore. See SaberScore large slate. Let's see if I put the. Yep, I already put the contest sims in here. So let's run that and see if you get anything different. Again, remembering what we have here: the Heel, Brown, Giannis, Clay, Halliburton, the same guys as we talked about before, except Halliburton and Conley are a little bit higher, represented. Let's see what happens when we run the contest sims and see if we get anything majorly different. One thing is that you don't really need that much Trey Lyles, although at 4K at power forward, yeah, you are getting 32% of him. All right, so the contest sim is done. Let's now look and see what we have. So in the shot, which is the MME build, yeah, it's not too much different. Heel, Thompson, Mikhail Alexander-Walker, Bruce Brown, these types of guys. So let's save that for now. But before I do that, I think this is again a really cool, this is a good idea that Jordan can, turn me on to from SaberSim, is that especially in MME, like a lot of lineups, try to make as many uniques as you can. Now again, that's not exactly getting you the most optimal lineups, but it's spreading yourself out in a way that is at least reasonable. So doing 3 uniques, I think, in a 50 lineup build or even a 30 lineup build, I think is not a lot to ask. And I do like that I'm getting all this Klay Thompson, by the way, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. So let's save these to the shot. And now let's see what the monster main lineup looks like. And obviously we're going to change this, but yeah, I was wondering why Reggie Jackson wasn't showing up. It seemed as though I would want to play him. And this looks like a really, really good lineup, actually. I might not keep exactly this, but this looks really, really nice. It gets you Giannis, gets you Harden, which I wanted to play anyway. And it does get me Reggie Jackson, which I had forgotten to play. And the Chris Paul, Klay Thompson correlation works. This is actually something like this would be kind of cool. But again, it's all this is nonsense because it's going to change many times between now and lock. But for now, we'll put this in, and then we will upload this. We're going to start firing up those subscriber tournaments, which I did like last year. That was fun, where I give something away here. Yeah, I'm going to do that pretty soon. I got to figure out what sport, though. NBA is so pedestrian. Actually, it's not pedestrian. It's really hard. But anyway, all right, so that would be what my FanDuel thing would be like, and I would kind of deal with that then. All right, so let me do, and again, this is when the viewership is going to drop off, but I'm going to now have, because I have to do this. I have my 1 o'clock hockey lineups I'm going to build right now. So if you guys don't want to watch that, you can stop now because that's going to be the end of the NBA main slate preview for DraftKings and FanDuel. I'm going to now just continue on by building my NHL. You can watch me do that. And then there's an NBA slate that's at 2:30, and I'm going to probably come back at like 2 to do that along with the Showdown slate for the NFL. Yeah. So let's do the hockey, and this is just the early slate hockey. It's not much for first, but again, I don't really care too much. I just want to get as many reps in. You know, you learn by doing this stuff, and it is a full 8-game slate. And yeah, I mean, I can't help it that they're not paying too much for first. I don't really care, honestly. So let's upload the NHL projections. Again, same process. Well, not exactly. I'm going to stop for a second. All right, so we're going to go backwards. I just uploaded the projections, but I forgot to show you guys where they came from. So NHL projections for the early slate are right here. And again, the way I kind of look at least my big buy-in is I'm really into doing these by hand. It's probably not the most optimal way to play. And when I can't build a good one by hand, I will let SaberSim do it for me. But if I can do it by hand, I just had a lot of success. And the way I do it by hand is literally just looking at these sheets and seeing if I can eyeball good plays at the top of the rankings that are on the same line. And you think, oh my God, that's that's so anti-analytical. But I'm telling you, I don't know. A lot went into the making the projections, and a lot went into the making of the rankings. And if you can look at these, try to find these guys that are literally in the same team, in the same line, it's really not bad. And I would tell you if I think that's really horrible, but it's really not bad. So when I look at this, right away, before I do anything, I see a couple of things. Ready for this? Toronto, 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 San Jose, San Jose, San Jose, San Jose. Okay. Before I do anything else, I'm pretty sure that I can do that. Right. And then another thing I do notice, by the way, is the New Jersey guy at the top, and then Toffoli was expensive, and then a kind of a drop off. So I don't think that the Devils are going to be my top stack. So I will immediately go into the DraftKings builder and see if I can build a lineup for the bigger buy-in exactly like I just said, like Toronto, San Jose. So let's pull up the correct one first of all. Contests upcoming. It's hard to figure out which one it is. Just from the lineups. Kick save here. I did not do the big buy-in there. Okay, but let's just show you what it would look like. How about that? So it would be, let's see. So what did I say? Matthews, Nylander, Tavares. So let's put all those guys in. And usually those guys are really expensive and you can't play them, but because you have all these those San Jose guys, I think we can do it. Can you do it at 4,100 a man? Well, let's find out. All right, so let's pull up the San Jose's, and let's see if we can't get all these guys in that we want. No, maybe not. Dang it. 5K. So I guess you can't play. Well, let's see. Zetterland. Okay. We have to play a goalie too, don't we? Yikes. Granlund at 3,100. So these are the guys that you want to play. Right? These are going to be the guys that you would want to play in your single buy-in. Is you'd want to start with the San Jose's. And that would be Hurdle, Granlund. Look at how cheap all these guys are. Granlund, Zetterland, and then like those three. That would be like the way to start. And then the other thing I would do is try to find a cheap goalie, the cheapest one I can come up with. Primo is on the opposite team. We can't play him. Talbot's pretty good. So we could play Talbot at 7,900. That would be reasonable. And then at 6,000 a man, you could really screw around here. So you could play your couple of Torontos maybe. Edmonton, you can't quite get to that. Boy, maybe it isn't so easy to hand build today, huh? I mean, I thought it was going to be easier to get to Toronto's, but we just saw that it wasn't really that easy. So I guess it is going to be SaberSim after all, you know. So let's see what we get. And good thing I'm not playing the big buy-in because it really doesn't look like a great. It really doesn't look like a great hand-built slate. I really thought it did. I really thought you could just pile in the San Jose's and then play anything else you want. But those Torontos are really expensive. So let's just see what we got here. And we're only playing 20 lineups in this. I'm just really curious what it's going to look like. Hey, what's up, Clay? Let's just see what this looks like. I mean, obviously, you'd want to get Edmonton's if you can, or Toronto's because they, four goals or higher. Okay, this is the one I'm going to win today. I'm going to lose everything, but this NHL full 8-game but low-paying slate. I mean, who's playing this? I love doing that. All right, let's see. And after you build NHL lineups, always you should check your stack exposures. Look at this, all the Devils. It managed to get all these Devils in. That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's why SaberSim is an optimizer and I'm not. So let's just see what it looks like as far as stack exposure. And full 6-man stacks, 5 2s, 5 0s. You could even take out the 5-mans and the 4 2s and just blast. And I'm pretty sure like 100% Devils. But do I want to play 100% Devils on an 8-game slate? I don't know. Maybe I do. So the first thing I will test to see if I really do want to do that is what does this look like if I say like Min Uniques 3? Even if I do Min Uniques 3, you're still getting like a huge amount of Devils. So let's run a contest sim and see. Now, again, what's happening here is I am employing some biases in my process. And that's not always the greatest idea in the world. So you see what I did there? I ran a regular SaberSim build, and I got 100% Devils. And I guess I didn't like that, whatever that means. Normally, if I'm really feeling it, I'd be like, you know what? I don't care what my biases are. If my projections are good, my ownerships are good. If SaberSim through its optimizer or its smart randomizer with its upside is giving me 100% Devils, I should just go with it. But for some reason, it bothers me. So I'm trying to come up with all these other builds that will confirm that bias, So I didn't like it when I made 3% unique. That didn't, 3 min uniques. So now we're going to try to use contest sims to see if I can't get off of all that Devils. So now if I do this, I'm still getting 90% Devils. So unfortunately, that's just going to be the deal. Okay, we're just going to have to play 90% Devils. We tried our best to employ our biases. It didn't work. So we are just going to have to play it. Save these to our contests. Download these. Plenty of time. And let's go Devils. That's going to be the chant of the day. All right, so let me just make sure that we're not missing anything. So first classic slate in the NBA is not for an hour and 49 minutes, so I can wait on that. So again, here's the remainder of the schedule. I'm going to be back. It's 12:40. I have some stuff I have to do. I'll be back at about 2 p.m., and then I'll post this in the Discord as well. But I'll be back at 2 p.m., and we will go over the Showdown slate, which starts at 3, and the NBA 2-game slate. Any questions? Okay, that'll do it. See you in a bit.